Hey guys, it's me. It's May 16th, 2017. It's been quite a long time since I've made a video. I don't even remember the last one I posted. But I wanted to make a video today which has been much requested from me. It's about nursing, so if you don't like nursing topics, don't watch this video. I wanted to talk about associates versus bachelor's degrees in nursing. And I wanted to review the program that I just completed, which was an RN to BSN bridge program. I just finished 2 days ago, so I'm done and I now have my bachelor's degree in nursing, which is exciting. So I didn't want to make this video before I had completed my program. I felt like I needed to actually have it done before I could make a video about it. So I'm going to kind of cover several topics here. What I'm going to try to do is put a link or a detail in the description below where you can sort of skip to the areas of this video that might interest you if you just want to know about my opinion of my RN-BSN program, or if you're interested in different things. So look below, you can kind of see the different sections and where you can skip to. So let's get started, shall we? First of all, I wanted to give a very brief summary of my education background. I feel like I've been in too many schools for too many years to only have a bachelor's degree in nursing right now. But it doesn't matter. I've done things in a non-traditional way and that's fine. I used to be living in Europe, as many of you know, and I was teaching English as a second language. And for some reason at some point I decided that I should get a business degree from an American university and that would help me sort of establish myself more as an English teacher over in Europe. So I looked for schools that I could enroll in from Spain, where I was at the time, and started with, what did I do? I did a few credits with the University of Phoenix, which was like brand new. It was kind of like the first online education. I don't really know if it was the first, but I remember it was expensive as hell, so that didn't last very long. Then I signed up through Western International University, and I took, I don't know, like 12 credits or 18 credits or something with them. That was also too expensive for me at the time, and nobody wanted to give me student loans when I wasn't living in America, so that didn't last for very long, but it did give me something like 18 credits or so that I was able to use later on. Then I came to the States, and then I still decided I wanted a business degree. I'm not really sure why. At that time I was working in the hotel industry. So I signed up with Ashworth College, which is still around. I had to Google them to see if they are. You don't really hear anything about them, but they, well, they worked for me. I achieved an associate's degree in business management through Ashworth College, and here's the paper to prove it. Just realized my name is on a lot of these things, but oh well, whatever. Ashworth College is accredited only through the DEAC, Distance Education Accrediting Commission. What I discovered when I decided I wanted to become a nurse was that that means nothing to them, and I can basically just take this diploma and wipe my butt with it. They didn't recognize anything I had done through Ashworth College. So I would recommend, if you're taking any online program, make sure they're accredited through I don't know, one of the official accreditation commissions, and not just the Distance Education Commission. They didn't take a single credit from Ashworth. So, but they did take some of my like University of Phoenix stuff, etc. Basically, why does this apply to nursing? So I went to Austin Community College's Associate's Nursing Program, which there are 4 or 5 nursing programs here in Austin where I live. ACC has kind of the highest reputation among nursing programs, despite it being the only associate's program, and they also have the highest NCLEX pass rates, which to me is kind of the strongest indicator of an education program. Can you actually pass the licensing exam at the end? Plus I like the cost, so it was much cheaper than a lot of the 4-year universities here. It's also incredibly competitive, so I took, I think, let's see, I've got all my like transcripts here and I have some stuff up on my computer, so you'll have to excuse me. They did take about 18 credits from Western International University that I was able to actually use later on in my bachelor's program. ACC really only cared about a couple of writing classes that I did, and I took a CLEP test and I was able to get 16 credits worth of Spanish through CLEP. But I had to do 10 prerequisite classes before I could apply to ACC's nursing program. I did those in 2 semesters, and then I applied to ACC's program, which after those 10 prerequisites, it's a 4-semester nursing program. So you can see how the time is adding up here at this community college. After applying, basically everyone at ACC, you're assigned a point system based on your grades, and at the school everyone has to have the top grades basically, or it's going to be a really long time before you get in. So I had the top marks and still had to wait 3 semesters before I was able to get into the nursing program, which is kind of ridiculous. They say at ACC, and it's probably like that at most community college nursing programs, it's not a question of if you can get in, it's just a question of when. So I had 3 semesters to wait to get into the nursing program. And during those 3 semesters, I took a bunch of bachelor's prerequisites. I didn't want to waste time. So I did 3 semesters of bachelor's prerequisites. Initially, I had thought I might be interested in either University of Texas at Arlington. They have a quite highly regarded RN-BSN program. So I looked at their prerequisites, and I also looked at Texas Tech, and kind of just did prerequisites that they both required. Each of those schools required some different stuff, and I did kind of covered all my bases during 3 semesters until I got into the nursing program. So then I did the nursing program, graduated like 2.5 years ago, and I've been working in an ICU ever since. When I interviewed for my ICU job, the manager, actually, let's back up. So that was how I got my associate's degree, basically, and what I did through, I think it was 10 semesters. You know, an associate's degree is supposed to be about 60 credits. By the time I finished at ACC, I had earned 94 credits. So that was nursing program stuff plus bachelor's prerequisites. So 94 credits later, and 10 semesters later, I ended up with an associate's degree. Anyway, so what happened after that? What did I do next? I guess this next section will be about job requirements in terms of associate's versus bachelor's degree stuff. So there are 2 or 3 main hospital systems here in the Austin area, two really, and then there's another one which is a little bit outside of the city. One of them is starting to sort of require everyone to have bachelor's degrees, or at least agree to obtain one within a certain time period after you get hired. They're really sort of preferring that everyone have bachelor's degrees, and I think a couple of their hospitals are magnet hospitals, so that factors in as well. My hospital group right now doesn't require anyone to have a bachelor's degree or sign an agreement. It's definitely something they hope to have bachelor's educated nurses, but it's not a requirement at this time. When I interviewed for my ICU job, the manager basically said to me, don't even think about studying a bachelor's degree program for a year. Take this first year and learn how to be an ICU nurse, and that's enough. And also our residency program was like 6 months long, tons of ongoing classes even after that. So there was enough to do as far as learning how to be an ICU nurse, which is exactly what I did. But eventually I decided to start an RN to BSN bridge program. I initially applied at, where did I apply? I think it was Texas Tech. It was either them or UT Arlington. I believe it was Texas Tech. They have great programs, both of them. I know lots and lots of people who've done programs at both of those schools. My personal experience with Texas Tech was I got really frustrated with them. I applied, I submitted my application fee, I submitted all of my transcripts. Every time I had questions that I was reaching out to them with, no one would get back to me on the phone, via email. No one would get back to me, except when it came to getting my money. They were very, very interested in obtaining my money. and I got lots of calls and emails about tuition, but they couldn't answer any of the questions that I actually had. So I actually got fed up with them one day, and I said, you know what, keep your application fee. I'm not interested in pursuing my degree with you guys. If you can't answer any questions I have, apart from financial ones, no thanks. There are other options. So I bailed on Texas Tech. Yes, and it was Texas Tech. It wasn't UT Arlington. And then I found out from one of my friend Sarah, who I work with, about Western Governors University, WGU. She had just enrolled and I had never heard of them, and we went out for drinks one night and she was telling me all about them, and it was about 24 hours later that I was applying. So WGU is a nonprofit school, which I like. They were started in Utah, and so most of their programs are completely online. You can study nursing as well as several other things, and they offer bachelor's and master's programs, both in nursing and other things. And they also have some local campuses in several states, and Texas is one of them. So if you want to study, the entire nursing program is online, no matter where you live. But if you want to study something else, we now have a campus here in Austin where I think you can do in the classroom things as well. Anyway, I loved the format of WGU. It's a competency-based program, so you're able to sort of test out of some of the things that you already know. It's also really flexible with the timelines. Basically, with each course you do, there are no specific deadlines for your assignments and papers and tests. The only deadline is that you finish everything by the end of the term, which I really liked. It gives you pretty much complete flexibility to do what you want to do when you're able, and you can work completely around your work schedule. It's kind of a double-edged sword, because what I found was that when you have that much flexibility, it makes it really easy to procrastinate. So, but I still appreciate that flexibility and the competency-based education model. So let's see, let me tell you a little bit about WGU's program, and then we can talk about whether I think nurses need bachelor's degrees or not. I'll just briefly kind of tell you about WGU's prerequisite system and then the program itself. So let's see, it's really easy to apply with them. With one phone call, they basically walk you through everything you need to do. It was super easy, especially after my Texas Tech experience. WGU really did make everything a pleasure to do. So you have to have a nursing license to apply for their BSN, RN to BSN program. And obviously you have to send in all your transcripts and copies of your license and all of that, and they have to review everything. And then essentially, WGU's program is 31 credits, which you can do. They do 6-month terms rather than the traditional 16-week terms. And you can really work through their program as quickly as you want. So, full-time is 12 credits or whatever, but if you finish all of your coursework for those 12 credits, you can add on additional classes one at a time, and complete as much as you're able to. So the cool thing about that is, if you want to really work hard and you're have the time to dedicate to it, you can sort of blast through classes and do way more than full-time studies. I've heard there's a select few group of unicorn students that have been able to do everything in one 6-month term, and I registered and I was like, I'm going to be one of them. I'm going to get this done in 6 months. That didn't happen. Most people can complete it in 2 6-month terms or 3. You can do it, I think, in up to 4, so stretch it out to 2 years. I'm not sure about the details of that. You might even be able to go longer if you need to. I had every intention of completing in 1 year, and then, like I said, I had other work stuff, I had other obligations, and I just didn't, power through it at 100% steam. So I ended up completing it in 3 6-month terms, so a year and a half. I didn't need to have it done by any time, and I also got grants that covered my tuition for my first entire year, so it wasn't like it was hurting me financially either. I did have to pay out of pocket for that last term, and that kind of hurt a little bit, but whatever. It was way cheaper than any other program as well. Their cost is around $3,300 per 6-month term. a lot of schools have a lot of hospitals have special agreements with them, so I got like a 10% corporate discount. It was like $3,000 per term, and my first 2 terms were covered by grants. Also, a lot of hospitals will pay for you to get a bachelor's degree. My hospital does that too. So I could have had them do that, and then I wouldn't have had to pay anything out of pocket. But in the end, I decided to just pay it out of pocket. A lot of hospitals make you sign like a 2-year contract or something, and I didn't want to have any kind of like thing obligating me to stay where I am, although I have no intention of going anywhere. Anyway, so that's that. So basically, you're doing 12 credits minimum each term, and it's about $3,000-ish. But as you can see, like if you add on additional classes, it gets cheaper and cheaper the more classes you do. So you can get, if you do it in a year, it's going to cost you $6,000 for a bachelor's degree, which isn't bad. So that's that. If you guys have more detailed questions about that kind of thing, put it below and I can answer them. Maybe you don't care about that, so I'll just move on. Let's talk briefly about the program. Basically, they accept, first, I don't really know how they assess everything, but they give you 50 credits in transfer credit for having a nursing license. So that's all like the nursing core classes and stuff. You get 50 credits of transfer immediately for that license. And then they also transfer over most of the prerequisites. So from my stuff, I got a total of 89 credits that transferred over, including like anatomy and physiology, human growth and development, statistics. They require also a general college math class, which I took years ago at, what was that school called? Western International University, so luckily that transferred over. English, writing, microbiology, a humanities class, a communication class, sociology, U.S. government. I don't think they actually required Texas, like a state government class. Anyway, and then an intro to psych class. So that all transfers over, and those are pretty standard bachelor's prerequisites. I will say, if you don't have those prerequisites done, you can do them through WGU as well. You don't have to do them at a community college or another school. You can do them through WGU as well. Really, I think all you need is your nursing license to apply for this program. 2 specific classes that they make you take at WGU and they won't accept from any other school are biochemistry and nutrition. This is frustrating because I've taken 2 or 3 different classes that should apply to a biochemistry credit, and I've taken nutrition before. They didn't accept them. They don't accept them from anyone. They require you to take them at WGU. So be prepared for that. And then you do the core nursing classes. The core nursing classes include an informatics class, a class called Care of the Older Adult, a health assessment overview, there's 2 community health nursing classes, including you do have to do some community hours as part of that requirement. There's a professional roles and values class, evidence-based practice and nursing research, a leadership class, organizational systems and quality leadership, which is kind of another sort of computer-based, course. And that's it. So, 31 credits is their core, and you're done. So, that was WGU. The program itself was not difficult. There were some tests which you take at home. They send you a webcam, so that you do proctored exams from home, which is a little odd because you have your webcam facing you and someone is watching you do it. They just want to make sure you're not cheating. But you can also go to testing centers depending on where in the country you live. So you do proctored exams, you'd have to do projects. A lot of it is like doing projects at home and then taking photos of what you've done. Like I remember in the biochemistry class or nutrition, maybe both, you had to do a lot of like creating models of things and then taking photos of those and having them evaluated and stuff like that. So projects, and then a lot of papers. The beginning half of the program is a lot of tests, and the second half seemed like it was almost exclusively just papers. There are tons of online resources available. One cool thing I liked is you don't have to buy any books. Part of your tuition includes a one-time fee, which gives you access to all of the online textbooks for the entire program. You have access to all of them from day one, and you don't have to buy a single textbook, which really can tack on a whole lot of money on top of a regular program tuition. So that was cool. There were plenty of resources available. You have a student mentor who follows you through the entire program, and you have like scheduled calls with your mentor to make sure you're on task and that any questions you have are being answered. You have what they call course mentors for each class. If you have questions, it's basically the instructor. You reach out to them and they can help you with any questions you have. There's tons of like online lectures. There's a big Facebook community where you can bounce questions off of other students. They really have a great program. I really liked it. I wish I was being sponsored by WGU to make this video for you, but I'm not. I'm just telling you my experience, and I certainly would recommend it. So if you have any other specific questions about WGU's RN to BSN program, put them below and I'm happy to talk more about it. The last section I wanted to talk about in this video was, is there a difference in nurses who have a bachelor's degree versus those who have an associate's degree? So are you ready for some controversy? So the age-old argument, do you need an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, and is there a big difference? So here's what I'm going to say about this. I have sort of mixed feelings. What I will tell you guys is find out what your area requires. There are some states, there are some areas that almost exclusively these days require a bachelor's degree from their nurses. There are some hospitals that will require a bachelor's degree and they won't take anyone who doesn't have one. And then there are other places that don't care. So at the end of the day, we all have the same nursing license. So do what is best for you. For me, what I was most interested in was cost. And this was by far the cheapest program, was to do an associate's degree first. And so that's why I did it that way. My intention was always to do the associate's program first and then do a bachelor's bridge program. I also already worked for a hospital as a nursing assistant that I knew was going to hire me and that wouldn't require a bachelor's degree. If I had wanted to work in certain areas within that other hospital company, they may have said, well, we'd prefer someone with a bachelor's degree. So do what's best for you. I will say I think the trend is moving toward bachelor's degrees as a standard for nurses, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. So you should probably prepare yourself for needing a bachelor's degree eventually, but I don't think it's required to become, it's not required to become an RN, and it's not required to get a job in a lot of places. Also, a lot of hospitals are starting to require bachelor's degrees, or certain units of certain hospitals, but there's a lot of other things you can do as a nurse as well. And I've never heard of a nursing home that requires a bachelor's degree. There's so many things you can do as a nurse. So if what you want is to become an RN, an associate's program is completely fine. But like I said, if you're thinking about becoming a nurse, I would mentally prepare yourself for the idea that you probably might need a bachelor's degree at some point in your lifetime and your career as a nurse. So they told us that when we started our associate's program too. They said, you guys finally got in after all these semesters of studying and then all these semesters of waiting on a wait list, and now you're in, and you're going to be in this for 2 more years, but get ready to do a bachelor's degree eventually as well. So, we were warned. We certainly were prepared. Do bachelor's educated nurses make better nurses than those with associate's degrees? Are you guys ready? Here comes some controversy. I think absolutely not. Now, like I said, there are 4 or 5 nursing programs in the city where I live. I attended the only one, which is an associate's program. We had, at least when I was a student, I haven't followed up lately, but we had the highest NCLEX pass rates of any nursing school in this area. we had NCLEX pass rates that were far, far superior to a couple of the bachelor's programs. And we also got more clinical hours than any other nursing school in this area. Almost double the number of clinical hours of one school in particular. The reputation that my school had, my associate's program has within the community, is that we are some of the best prepared new grad nurses in the area. All the schools wear different colored scrubs, and my school wore teal scrubs. And you hear over and over that those nursing students with the teal scrubs are the best prepared when they finally get their license and they start as new nurses. I've also seen nursing students from four-year universities that, no offense to them, but they have what appears to me to be a huge knowledge deficit and or huge deficit in nursing skills. I'm not going to point fingers at anyone, but I'll just say there are associate's programs who can prepare you fantastically to become a new nurse. And I'm sure the same is to be said about bachelor's programs. So if you're deciding, and if it doesn't really matter to you whether it's an associate's or a bachelor's program, you know, finances aren't really an issue to you, what I would recommend is look at your school's NCLEX pass rates. Make sure that the vast majority of the students who are graduating from that program are also passing their licensing exam. And also look at the number of clinical hours. That should be information that can be made available to you. It's not a secret. And see how many clinical hours the different schools offer, because really what you want is as much clinical time as possible and to be as sure as possible that the program is going to adequately prepare you to pass your licensing exam, because at the end of the day, whether it's a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree, you need to pass your licensing exam. And it's the same for everyone, no matter which degree they studied. So that's my opinion about that. Basically, do what's best for you. Look at NCLEX pass rates, look at clinical time, and do what you want to do. And don't let anybody else tell you anything different. I will say many of the prerequisite classes I think are really useful, and I do think there are a lot of benefits to having a bachelor's degree. It's shocking to me that nutrition is not required as a standard for all RNs. Maybe some associate's programs offer a nutrition class. I think every single one should. I ended up taking 2 nutrition classes because I studied at all these different schools. And I think that's essential information. You know, chemistry classes and biochemistry and all these things I think are also quite useful. My associate's program didn't require any chemistry, but I ended up taking a general chemistry and then a couple biochemistries and a molecular biology and stuff that is really important information, not necessarily relevant to nursing everyday practice, but to understand what's going on with the body and how medications interact with systems. I think all of these classes are important. And then finally, like, a lot of the prerequisites I thought were kind of bull. I had to take a British literature class where I read Frankenstein and what else did I read? Pride and Prejudice. Can I tell you how much I hate that story? You know, I don't think that made me a better nurse at all, period. Things like public speaking, I think those classes were kind of a joke. If you had seen what was required for those classes, I felt like I was surrounded by children. U.S. government, U.S. history, I think are classes that are useful and that everyone should know about how government works in your country and in your area, and everyone should know about the history of where they live and places around them. So I'm glad that I was required to study those courses, but I don't know, do they make me a better nurse? I don't think so. So, whatever. Does having a bachelor's degree make me a better nurse? I don't know. I've only had it for 2 days, so we'll find out. A lot of the bachelor's level classes I felt were quite useful. The nursing research and evidence-based practice. Community health was kind of interesting. And then some of the bachelor's level classes I thought were just, you know, as well. Like, you just have to do it to get the degree. So, that's it, guys. This was a long video, but I knew there were a lot of facets to this topic, and I didn't want to dive into it until I had the bachelor's degree myself. I feel like otherwise, like, who am I to say anything? So, to all of you who are finishing up your semester or may have just graduated, congratulations. If you have any questions below, make sure you, if you have any questions, make sure you put them below, and I'm happy to engage in conversation. That's why I make these videos. I don't make them that often anymore, as you have noticed probably, but if you want to engage with me more frequently, I post all the time on Instagram, same username, @nikasarvata, so follow me there, send me messages there, whatever you want to do. I hope everyone is doing great, and get ready for a great summer. Take care, guys.